But we're going to start with the first group. And we start with Malembo Simbano, who's a presenter from TBC. Karibu. And we also have Teo Akinyemi from Afritech Roundup. Karibu. And PK Malinzi, founder of Digest Africa. Belinda Lifard, founder of...
Clouds.
Yes, from Clouds Media, sorry.
Belinda, are you here?
Belinda.
She's coming in.
So, since we're talking about media, hopefully the next guy is going to come on stage, become the moderator, channel his hip-hop ways, and probably this time he's not going to talk as the scientist or innovator or serial entrepreneur, but rather he's going to be Jumanne the rapper. We'd like to call upon the moderator, Jumanne Mtambalike, from Sahara Ventures, Sahara Sparks. Karibu.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, so I know you guys, we are almost ending there, but we need all the energy that we can have because it's going to be a very exciting panel. So I have PK from Digest Africa, I have Tayo, Africa Roundup, I have Malembo from TBC, and I have Belinda from Crowds Media Group. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
So the next session is mainly around how can we use media to promote innovation and technology in Africa. Media plays a very crucial role in promoting different sectors, promoting the agriculture sector, the education sector. A lot has been happening in Africa's innovation ecosystem that is very crucial to be showcased and presented to people so that they can be able to consume it. 6 years ago, I was having a blog called Tech 360 Magazine. I used to do what PK is doing currently, covering stories around innovation, about technology and entrepreneurship in Tanzania and in Africa in general. 5 years later, I'm involved with Sahara Sparks and Sahara Ventures, but I still feel media plays a very crucial role. So my first question would be, how can we use both traditional media and digital media to grow the innovation ecosystem sector in Africa? So any can start, you can pick, maybe I can call names, PK.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, so I'm from the digital media world, and I'm going to speak for that. Then my colleague from TBC will talk about the traditional media world. So there are some limitations that we do not get faced with in the digital media world. And I'll start by an example. There is a startup in Uganda, it's called Drone Nerds. They use drones to curb deforestation. So Uganda's biggest forest is called Mabera Forest. I'm sorry for using Uganda, I'm Ugandan, for knowledge purposes. So Uganda's biggest forest is called Mabera Forest, and there is so much deforestation in the country. So what they do is they get drones and use them to map which areas are being deforested and then inform the government or the authority that is, for that matter, concerned. And then also what they do is they use drones to map out where sand mining is taking place across Lake Victoria, because it's a very rampant in that area. Then the other bit, what they use it for is refugee centers. Uganda has the largest refugee center in the world. It's called Bidibidi. So these refugees tend to move from the camp where they are placed. So what they do is they use the drones to map out their movements, and then they inform the authorities that are concerned. But they were doing this work and no one knew what they were doing. So I met up with a gentleman, he's called Silva Kayondo, and we did an article about what they are doing. And I was surprised, that was I think in April this year, when he came back to us 2 months later and said, there's a firm from the US that had contacted them. You know, so I'm bringing up this example to show how much we can cross certain boundaries that perhaps he may not be able to cross with traditional media. So that, I think this can illustrate the importance of digital media. Yeah.
Yeah, so Malembo can chip in.
Yeah, what I can say, maybe what the media can do is that, first of all, I think the media should see first. Many journalists have no skills of science and technology. That's the first issue. because many journalists are taking mass communication or journalism. It's an art. It's not all about science and technology. It's an art. So if it's an art, so many people don't know how to write things about science and technology. The skills. I think maybe people who are participating in science and technology, they need to go and provide skills for journalists of science and technology. When you see, maybe you can see there here in TBC, for example, where I'm working. I'm the only one who is participating in the coverage of science and technology. But I can't say that I am a scientist or I'm a technology personnel. I'm just an artist, someone from social arts. But I can try my level best to study about technology. How can technology develop Africa, and especially my country, Tanzania? How can young innovators can use the advantage of media so as a platform so that can make them to reach other people, especially investors? As you can know, Jumanne, yes. Many investors in Tanzania, they're not knowing about things about innovation, especially technological innovation. They don't know about the advantage of technological innovation in Africa. Where can it bring more money, more than other things? They think only on investing in estates. They think on buildings maybe. They don't think about technology. So I think when we give the journalists skills about science and technology, how to cover them, technical issues, because maybe they see science is very hard for them. They see maybe technology, something come from Europe, not from Africa. How can an innovator come from Tanzania? Come on. So they don't appreciate, first of all. And the other thing is that audience of especially Africa and even Tanzania, they're so interested on entertainment news and information. They don't like to hear about educational information which are very productive to them. So when you tell them about maybe Wema Sepetu, they know Wema Sepetu, they'll be interested and they'll listen and watch because she's famous and it is entertainment. But when you tell them about Jumanne is doing Sahara Sparks, who is Jumanne? What is Sahara Sparks? They don't even know and they don't want to even come. You can see how many youth they came today, or they'll come to even tomorrow. The number is low because of that. So I think we need to change the mentality of the Tanzanians, especially youth Tanzanian and even African, to start to see that technology is thing which can help them and give them money for future and can help Africa to develop. That's what I think.
So Tayo, this is going to be a tough one. So as much as media is playing a very interesting role in transforming the narrative and helping to inform the world about what is happening in Africa, now we are falling into this trap of hype and false information. What can we do to split between actual facts on what is happening in the innovation ecosystem and falsified information of what is happening in the innovation ecosystem, especially when you have a list of 10 most performing startups in this year, and in the next year, none of them is still functional. So how can we split between the two? The facts, the reality on the ground, and the story which is being cooked.
So fortunately, my colleague PK has already answered the question, so I'm going to quote him partially. But I think part of the problem is at African Tech Roundup, one of the mottos we use is oversimplification is the enemy. So when you start to talk about headlines like Startup X raised Y dollars, this company did a deal with the other company, you start to ask, well, what does this mean? What does it mean to the parties involved? What does it mean to ecosystem builders? What does it mean to founders? So I think as media, we need to do a better job of asking and answering the why questions in addition to sharing the headlines. So not to increase the level of complexity for the sake of being complex, but to increase the value of the information that's being provided. So that is one thing. So if you think about you're using a radio and you don't hear anything but noise until you tune to the correct station. It's something like that. You need to distill the signal from the noise. The second thing, and this is where I'll quote PK, media has responsibility and needs to be accountable for what it reports, which means being accurate and checking facts. So when you write an article that says top 10 according to whom? By what methodology? PK actually just told me, we were chatting here, that he doesn't report on anything, any research where the methodology isn't shared. That's a standard that he holds for his publication, and that's a standard that media outlets should also hold in their reporting.
Very interesting. Don't publish content from any research that the methodology or the approach of collecting the data hasn't been clearly opened. Belinda, so we have issues of content, having the right kind of content for people to consume online. This is a problem for Africa, but it's also a very big problem in Tanzania. How do we get to create the right content for our people to consume? You go to a YouTube channel and the auto-suggestion is just some crazy stuff. They're not adding any value to people's life. So you guys as a media, as people who work on creating content, what do you think needs to be done? Belinda.
Thank you for the question. That has really been a very great issue, as in it's a big challenge when it comes to content, not only in Tanzania, but also like in every other place. So what I would advise different people, different medias who are putting content out there in the internet and every other place, first of all, before putting the content, you need to know the aim behind the content, because the aim projects what content is going to be projected outside. Because if you aim on educating people, for example, today we are here, Sahara Sparks, and we're here like with everybody who wants to learn different things about innovation. So the aim behind is to encourage innovative ideas that brings about what content is in this conference. So the aim behind every other content or anything is the first major thing that needs to be considered by any other person. Because we know, for example, the internet doesn't have any boundary. Somebody might be sitting in their rooms, they just take their phones, they record themselves and they post it maybe on Instagram, YouTube, or anywhere. But if the aim is being considered with the medias, the people who have got influence to reach multitude of people, the aim matters more in bringing about the content.
Great. So one of the challenges when it comes to online magazine or digital content in Africa is on monetizing and building business around it. Because as we already said, we have issues with people consuming content. 90% of our population went online to access and use social media platform, and very few they went there and looked for knowledgeable, informative content that in one way or the other can help them to do something better. So PK, running a very informative digital magazine, what have you learned? How can we build stable businesses through digital content that we create online?
Can I borrow yours? Okay. I think this is an interesting question, and I would beg that if there is anyone who is trying to build a business around digital could pay attention. It's very hard to monetize and also not compromise your status or not be biased, if I may put it that way. Because right now, most business models that we have on the market, you find that if you're going to depend on advertising, you'll have, let's say, Tigo, or you have Liquid Telecom as the biggest sponsor. But then also the biggest sponsor is a player in the space you're working in. And if something went south and you wrote a story about them or covered them in that way, they will tell you, we are going to pull the plug. You know, so you need to look around a model that is going to be sustainable, but then also it holds up your standards. You still deliver value to your stakeholders. So I'm not going to say that there is a silver bullet, because we've been around for now 2 years, and we've toyed with various business models, and you find that some work, some don't. But for us, at the center of everything is, does this compromise our standards? If it does, then we drop it. there and then. Then about sustainability, there are so many things I think you can do. I don't think there is, right now, anyone is going to invent the way you make money out of media. There are some models that have worked elsewhere in the world that you can import. The key thing is, do you understand your audience? I was talking with Tayo just on the sidelines, and there are some media, there are some publications or data companies that will charge $15,000, and the client pays there and then. They pay before they even access the content. But then, if you brought the same model here, maybe it might not work. Not because the client is not willing to pay, but because the client can't afford $15,000 at once. So you need to innovate around how can I be able to get my client to pay. Then the other thing is surrounding the kind of service that you're offering, because I believe that the market pays attention. Because if you're going to tell me to pay for something that I can get on Wikipedia, why should I pay for it, right? If I can just go and open Wikipedia and I have it. So what we need to have is, for example, right now if someone is looking for information that is up to date about startups across Africa, chances are you're not going to have it anywhere. It might be on the internet, but you're going to spend a month trying to get it. Now just imagine there is a person X who tells you, whatever you're looking for is right here, I have it. But I want you to pay $1,000, I want you to pay $10,000, and you're going to save a month, you're going to save 6 months. Chances are they are going to be willing to pay for that. So I think we need to look at the product. What are you giving your people? If you're going to be sending press releases by my site, I can get that anywhere else. So before you look at the business model, what are you offering? I think so.
Yeah, so that was insightful. If I follow that, I would never follow them with that startup of mine. Yeah, so again, I'm coming back to you again, Malembo. Mainstream media, traditional media, TVs and radios. We've had the feedback from the digital and online platform. One of the problems that I've been having with the mainstream media, in which of course most of the African people still consume TV content and radio content, is how they structure their content around innovation and tech. You being a founder of a very interesting technology TV show in Tanzania, by the way, you should clap for this guy. He has really transformed that show. What are your learnings and what are you advising other media agencies out there? What steps should they take to transform the way they share digital and innovation content?
So I'm trying a little bit nowadays, even to connect them outside of the media. Maybe I found an innovator. I can find an innovator, maybe I remember the other innovator from BIT. He was an innovator about traffic light system. Well, he gave me a good education about traffic light, the junction light and road lights. So he told me that if you need to control the traffic jam in Tanzania, you need to shift from light from junction to road lights. We need to control the road. So I took that time and I found people from Temesa who are the one who are controlling the system of traffic light. I met with them, we sit together, and then we discuss how they can improve. So Temesa buy the idea, and I think soon they're going to take it and put it to work. So I think even other media personnel, they need to think of that, to do the way that they can improve innovation in Africa and especially in their country.
I think it's more about passion and going an extra mile to gather the right content, which is very important. So because of time, I have to wrap this up. It's a very interesting discussion, but we are far behind in time. And there's one exciting panel which is about to follow. So key takeaways, because we have like 8 minutes, so you can do 1 or 2 each. I'll start with PK. Key takeaways.
Okay, I think I would just want to thank Sahara Sparks. I told this to Tayo, the fact that now we are having the conversation where the media is brought on the table. I've spoken to founders that think media is a PR tool for them to just reach out to the audience. And they forget that media has a key role it plays in building the innovation ecosystems. So I think this is a good step forward, saying that, okay, media, we move away from saying this is a press release, you can contact us in case you want to know this and this about what transpired, to can you come on the table, can we see what can you bring on the table also You understand? So I think it's a good step forward. Then the other thing I can add is that it's a long way forward for us if you're going to build the African ecosystem. So I would want us to work closely more. That's the founders, the other enablers, as well as those in the media arena. Thank you.
I'll just add a short point to the discussion we were having about business models. So if you're building a media business in Africa, you have to think about the difference between users and buyers. The people who might read your online publication or listen to your podcast may not be the people who are paying you. So you should think very carefully about who you'd like to engage and who's going to pay for your service. Those two groups might not be the same, but whatever you do, if you're investing for the long term, you really should be concerned about making decisions that are in line with your vision and your standards. It may be difficult in the short term, but you'll end up winning in the long term.
I have a few words to say. It's all about Tanzania media should join together and say that we need to focus on industrialization. And through industrialization, technology is very important. So we, as media people, we need to come together and put agenda about technology. Ecosystem will take us far away. Thank you.
I would also love to thank Sahara Sparks and Labs, but also I would love to say that media is very powerful at large, so we shouldn't underestimate the power of media, but also we should remember that it can turn things around. So it depends on how you use media. It can turn things positively or negatively. So let's not underestimate the power of media, but also let's use media in a positive way.
Thank you so much, my panel. Thank you so much, Tayo. Thank you so much, Belinda. Thank you so much, Malembo. Thank you so much, PK. And please keep promoting our innovation ecosystem through your media. Thank you.